Hello everyone. Today I am going to start Tarjaki bearing capacity theory. But before starting, I want to mention something. During my last class, I made a mistake. I want to mention it here. You will find it at 20 minutes during my 40-minute lecture. I mistakenly wrote gamma W, but it will not gamma W, as because gamma W means unit weight of water, but we are dealing with unit of weight of soil, so it will be only gamma. Okay, not gamma W. So it will be gamma dF. Okay, so just correct it. Okay, only gamma, no gamma W. Okay, so today I am going to start Tarjaki bearing capacity theory. Before starting Tarjaki bearing capacity theory, we have to discuss some other factors. Those are affecting bearing capacity. So let's start. Factors affecting bearing capacity. Okay. So, what are those factors affecting bearing capacity? First, nature of ground surface. Okay. So, what if ground surface is inclined, then there will be some bearing capacity. If I am taking a footing, okay, isolated square footing, okay, but in case of horizontal ground level, there will be a certain amount ultimate bearing capacity. But if ground surface is inclined, then you have to take the inclined portion. That inclined portion will behave as surcharge. It will behave as surcharge. Okay. So nature of ground surface, it may be inclined, or it may be horizontal. Next, position of groundwater table. As water gives you pore water pressure, so that for the pore water pressure, ultimate bearing capacity will be affected. Then types of foundation, as I told you in my previous lecture, types of foundation. Fourth, types of soil. Okay, so types of soil means soil may be cohesive, soil may be cohesionless. So it depends on the soil parameter like C, like phi, like void ratio, like status of soil. It may be dry, it may be saturated, it may be submerged, whatever. And then nature of loading. Nature of loading. Loading may be concentric, loading may be eccentric. So in case of concentric load passing through the axis of loading. In case of eccentric load, there will be some kind of movement. Then initial stress of soil on soil. So like soil may be normally consolidated, or may be over consolidated. So I have taught you in your last semester about normally consolidated and over consolidated soil. So what is normally consolidated soil? Normally consolidated are those which are loaded first time in the history up to the present applied effective stress. Okay. So and what is over consolidated? Over consolidated soils are those which have been already loaded in past history. Okay, which have been already loaded in past history. And then mode of shear failure. Mode of shear failure. Okay. So basically three modes of shear failure occurs. What are those? General shear failure, local shear failure, and punching shear failure. I will discuss one by one. Okay. So then types of shear failure. Types of shear failure. Types of shear failure. As I told you, three type of shear failure occurs. First is general shear failure. So what are those? One is general shear failure. General shear failure. Second, punching shear failure. Third, local shear failure. So what is general shear failure? General shear failure, this type of shear failure occurs in shallow foundation, and it also occurs in medium to dense sand and over consolidated clay. That's mean soil having low compressible criteria, this kind of shear failure occurs. Okay. So general shear failure. Okay. So when it is occurs in shallow foundation. Okay, occurs in shallow foundation. In shallow foundation. Which kind of soil it occurs? Medium to dense sand. Medium to dense sand. Okay. And soil having low compressibility. Okay. Then in this type of shear failure pattern is well defined. Okay. Failure pattern is well defined. I will show you a diagram of general shear failure. Okay. In this type of shear failure, suppose I am taking a isolated square footing. Okay. obviously it is shallow foundation. It is ground level, taking horizontal ground level. Okay. This is the load. Load comes from superstructure. This is the base of width of base. Okay. This is foundation level, and this is the depth of foundation. This is the depth of foundation. So what happens in this kind of shear failure? Their failure pattern will be something like this. Okay. So this is called stress level. It is from foundation base to B depth. Okay. So in the ground surface there will be a heaving or bulging. In this kind of failure there will be heaving or bulging, something like this. Okay. This is a clear failure pattern, failure pattern. If you draw in graph, this is loading and this is settlement. Then after certain loading, it will sudden failure. Sudden failure will be happen. Okay. This is ultimate bearing capacity. So what actually happened in this case? Brittle type shear stress strain. You will find the brittle type stress strain diagram. Brittle type. Okay. And failure is catastrophic and sudden. Failure will be catastrophic and sudden. Failure will be catastrophic and suddenly it will fail. Okay. And sudden. I think up to that much clear. Okay. Next point. Generally, general shear failure happens in case soil having relative density greater than 75%. So generally occurs in sand having ID greater than 70%. What is ID? It is also have taught in your past semester. ID is nothing but relative density. Next, punching shear failure. So I have discussed about general shear failure. Next, punching shear failure. So what is punching shear failure? It occurs in deep foundation, placed on very loose sand or soft clay. Okay. So in case of punching shear failure, it only happens in deep foundation. So it is not a case of shallow foundation failure. So second, punching shear failure. Punching shear failure. So point, what are the point? It occurs in deep foundation. placed on very loose sand. Okay. And soft clay. Okay. So it is not a common case of shallow foundation. As I told you, shallow foundation only will be provided in case of soil having good strength. So it is not common case of shallow foundation failure. Okay. So in case you will not find the clear failure pattern. Okay. So it is not well defined. Failure pattern not well defined. So you can say no clear failure. It occurs in very loose sand. Okay, occurs in very loose sand having ID less than 30. Okay, so how punching shear failure looks like? I'm showing a diagram. It is happening in case of deep foundation. Okay, so it is ground level. In case of punching shear failure, soil just below the foundation, deep foundation, it will be stressed. Okay, it will be stressed. So this is stressed soil, and outside of that soil it is, and this is unstressed soil. It also be unstressed soil. Okay, so next, what will be the next? Local shear failure. Next is local shear failure. Local look, in case of local shear failure have common criteria of punching shear failure and general shear failure. So it mainly occurs in loose to medium soil. Okay, it mainly occurs in loose to medium sand. Loose to medium sand. In another way, you can say that sand having ID 30% to 70%. In this type of soil, generally local shear failure occurs. So in this case, failure surface does not reach. I'm showing the diagram. Look, it is footing. Okay, it is footing. Okay, so in this case, and it is ground level, it is foundation level. foundation level, it is ground level. So in this case, actually failure surface does not reach up to the ground level. It will not reach up to the ground level. It will not reach up to the ground level. Okay. It will not reach up to the ground level, so that there will be no clear heaving or bulging. So a sidely heaving will occur, very sidely heaving will occur. So failure surface does not reach up, as because failure surface does not reach up to the ground level, then you can't find any clear failure. So this is not well defined failure pattern. So this is all about local shear failure. Now next, Tarjagi bearing capacity theory. It is most important. Okay, most important. Tarjagi bearing capacity theory. So Tarjagi made some assumption. So first, what are those assumptions? First assumption. What are those assumptions? Foundation will be shallow. Foundation should be shallow. So foundation, first assumption, foundation is shallow. In case of shallow foundation, D by B will be less than 1, as I told you in my last lecture. Second assumption, base of foundation is rough. Base of foundation is rough. Third assumption, footing is steep. Footing is steep. What I told you about steep footing, whose length of footing will be very large. Length of footing will be very large of base of footing. Okay. Then water table is beyond the zone of influence of stress. Water table, those are the assumptions, is beyond the zone of that's mean if up to this level soil feels some stress, so this is stress zone. So as per Tarjagi theory, he said that water table will be beyond the stress level. That's mean up to ground surface to stress level there will be no water table. Okay. Fifth assumption. What is fifth assumption? He said that stress zone extend up to B distance below foundation. Stress zone means effect of loading. Stress zone extend up to B. As I saw here, that stress zone will be up to B distance. Okay, B distance. B distance below foundation. Okay. So now Tarjagi bearing capacity theory. So it is limiting equilibrium approach. Tarjagi bearing capacity theory is limiting equilibrium approach. Okay. So like it is a isolated footing. Ground level, there will be 3 zone. Okay. It is very important, frequently asked in exam. Okay, this is zone 1, this is zone 2, and this is zone 3. Okay, so suppose this is ultimate bearing capacity QU. So when we are talk about statics, as per statics there will be a balancing force. So what is the role of balancing force? Balancing force actually equate the force causing failure to the force resisting failure. So according to statics, what are those? Force balancing and moment balancing. Okay, but in case of it will be 0, summation of force will be 0 and summation of moment will be 0. But here Tarjagi bearing capacity theory, summation of moment will not be 0. This is the limitation. It is the limitation. Okay, so two type of force I have told. Force will be two type. One is causing failure, and another is resisting failure. Force causing failure, it is ultimate bearing capacity, and resisting failure is shear strength. It is shear strength. So to get summation of F0, what we have to do? We have to equate force causing failure to force resistance failure. So in zone 1, what actually happened in zone 1? Zone 1, this zone actually behaves like footing itself. Why? Because as there is a friction in between base of foundation and the soil. That's why it will behaves like footing itself. So we can write that in zone 1, we can write that zone 1, soil in this zone get compacted and stick with footing base and behave like footing. So why it is assuming so? Because the base of footing is rough. Okay, so there should be some kind of friction, and for the region of friction, that's triangular. Okay, this zone 1 will be in triangular shape. So this triangular wedge of soil will be behaves like footing itself. So that's mean it will remain of the part of footing itself. What is about zone 2? Zone 2. Okay. One thing I have missed. In zone 1, it is in elastic equilibrium. Zone 1 will be in elastic equilibrium. So zone 1, it is in elastic equilibrium. So as because in zone 1 soil is very compacted and soil behaves like footing itself, then there will be no movement of zone 1 in lateral dimension. So it only have weight. It will not have kind of movement. Zone 2, it is in plastic equilibrium. Zone 2, it is in plastic Look, what actually happened in zone 2? When soil in zone 2 and zone 3 zone 1, first of all zone 1, it is very compacted soil, and that's why it will behave like footing. So that's why it will not showing any lateral movement. Okay. But in zone 2 and zone 3, it can goes in lateral direction. So it means that the passive resistance offered by soil in zone 2 and zone 3 should be overcome before the soil in zone 1 and footing can goes downward. So zone 2 and zone 3 will give you some passive resistance. So what happens in zone 2? Zone 2 is the zone of radial shear. Zone of radial shear. Okay. If you take a line from edge of footing, it is edge of footing. So it will give you the radial shear, edge of footing. Then the shape of the curve will be log spiral. So shape, that means this shape of the curve will be log spiral. Okay. And what about zone 3? This zone of linear shear. Zone of It also in plastic equilibrium. Plastic equilibrium. And it is zone of, next, it is zone of plastic Rankine state. You can say zone is in plastic Rankine state. So in zone 3 it will make 45 degree minus 5 by 2 as per Rankine theory. It will make an angle 45 degree minus 5 by 2 to the ground level, sorry, base of foundation. Okay. So now, as because zone 1 behaves like footing itself, so we have to analyze zone 1. So I am simply it is zone 1. Okay. So it will be the width of base, width of footing, and is ultimate bearing capacity. Okay. So zone 2 and zone 3 give passive resistance. So what will be the value of passive resistance? Suppose I am taking PP. PP will be the passive resistance. This is the passive resistance, PP. Okay. And cohesion will be cohesion in opposite direction, and weight will be in downward direction. Okay. So what will happen? Suppose I am taking, it is x, I am taking this length is x. So what we have to do, we are just balancing the force to find out the ultimate bearing capacity. As soil in zone 1 and it is zone 1 and outside of the zone 1 soil are same, so I'm drawing this diagram again, as because it was very small. Okay, now it will be clear to you. So what is B? B was nothing but the width of footing. Okay. And what is loading intensity, ultimate bearing capacity? So we have to find out this ultimate bearing capacity. Then what we have to do? We have to just balance the force causing failure to the force resisting failure. So we have to just balance. What do we have to balance? You have to just balance force causing failure to force resisting failure. Okay. So the cohesion will be act like this, and the passive resistance, it is nothing but the resultant passive resistance. Okay, it will be resultant passive resistance, and I am taking a normal line in. Then as we know, the angle between normal and resultant is angle of friction, so it will be also angle of friction as per geometry. Angle of friction, it will be also angle of friction. So what happens actually, I am taking this distance as x, then I am taking unit length, okay. So area, what will be the area? Area of this triangle will be the, look, what will be the value of x? Tan phi will be x by b by 2, as because it is total a b, then what will be the value of this? Only half b by 2. So from this x is equal to b by 2 tan phi. Then what will be the area? Area will be half into 2 because I am taking 2 equal part. So for total you have to just add both into b by 2 because this base into height. What is height? Height is x, b by 2 tan phi. So p square by 4 tan phi. Then what will be the volume? To get volume, just multiply by 1. So area, as because I am taking unit length, so it will be b square by 4 tan phi. Okay. Now to get the weight, you have to multiply with unit weight of soil. So what will be the weight of triangle? Weight of triangle OH. So what will be the triangle OH? Triangle OH will be b square by 4 tan phi into gamma. Okay. So now we have to balancing force causing failure to force resistance failure. So what are the force causing failure? QU into B, 1 for unit length, plus b square by 4 tan phi into gamma, because both are acting in downward direction. This will be equal to passive resistance and cohesion. What is the component of cohesion in upward direction? It is sine, C sine phi. So for both side I am taking, we have to just add both side cohesion, so it will be 2c sine phi. So what will be the C? The unit of C is kilonewton per meter square, but we have to take the total cohesion, and suppose capital C is total cohesion. To get total cohesion, so what will be the total cohesion? Will be the cohesion into area. Area is, suppose it is AB into length. So what is the value of AB? AB will be suppose cos phi is equal to b by 2 by AB. Okay. Then what will be the value of AB? AB is equal to b by 2 by cos phi. So now, then what will be the value of total cohesion? Total cohesion will be something like this. Total cohesion will be small c into b by 2 cos phi. Just put the value here, 2 pp plus 2 capital C b by 2 sin phi by cos phi. 2 cancel, 2 pp plus b capital C tan phi. So now okay, so now passive resistance has 3 parts. PP is the passive resistance, has 3 parts. One is weight of the soil, Second, due to soil cohesion, due to cohesion of soil. And third, due to surcharge. Suppose look, there will be surcharge, certain amount of surcharge there will be, and for that region, zone 2 and zone 3 will give some passive resistance. So this passive resistance comes from due to surcharge. It is the resistance against surcharge. So passive resistance has three parts. One is weight of soil, another is due to cohesion of soil, and third is due to surcharge. So we have to take in account all of this. So now I am writing down that PP will be the summation of PP of due to weight of soil taking gamma. Okay. Then PP of C for cohesion, and third PP of due to surcharge. Surcharge I am taking Q as a surcharge. Okay. Then what will be the value? The value will be QU into B, which I have write down there here. QB into B. Okay. Plus V square by 4 tan phi gamma is equal to 2 P of P gamma plus P of PC plus P of PQ. Okay. Plus BC tan phi. You got that result. Okay. Now QU, what will be the value of QU? Cancel from, no, right. Achha, QU into B will be 2 P gamma plus PPC plus PPQ plus BC tan phi minus B square by 4 tan phi gamma. Now Tarjagi made some assumption. What are those assumptions? He assumed 2P gamma minus 1 by 4 gamma B square by B square tan phi. He taken it as half gamma B in gamma into B. Okay. This is the effect of soil weight in shear zone, and he assuming 2PPC plus BC tan phi as BC NC. It is the nothing but effect of cohesion. Okay. And then PPQ, he take it as BQNQ. See, nothing but the effect of surcharge. Okay. So then what will be the ultimate result? Ultimate result will be something like this. QU into B is equal to, it will be BCNC plus BQNQ plus half gamma B in gamma into B. So I am just cancelling B both sides. Then what will be the result? QU is equal to CNC plus QNQ plus half gamma B in gamma. So CNC, what is the value of Q? Q is nothing but surcharge. So the value of surcharge will be gamma into dF, gamma dF NQ plus half gamma B in gamma. This is the result, and this is the formula to find out ultimate bearing capacity according to Tarjagi theory. So from next class I will explain the position of water table, how actually the position of water table affect ultimate bearing capacity. Okay, bye.